love to rise in the summer morning.
One, hello and welcome back to Let Paul Racing. Here around, I believe the track is Termas de Rio Hondo in Argentina, for what is said to be quite a interesting round that might throw up a surprise result or two, and definitely will have massive impact on the championship. Our current championship leader being absent here today, and a lot of drivers who had harsher lack last round are going to be looking to make up some ground up here. A few new drivers making the re-debut again. And joined here today with me, I have my great friend and a co-commentator, Sarah Milfetova. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Matt. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to witness this today because I was watching the stream last round, and I was getting really excited watching it because it's so close this season. There's so much going on. There's anyone has an opportunity this season. It feels like, and if you look at the standings, it really reflects it because you cannot really call Danny a clear favorite just because the gap to the next drivers in the top seven, it's so small. There's really barely anything separating them. And even though Danny is missing, the comforting thing for him is gonna be that in this league we have a couple of drop rounds each season, so he can afford to miss races, though it will still put him at a slight disadvantage. But if he attends all the races, he can absolutely make it up.
Indeed, and just to reiterate how close it is between the top seven, there's only 8 point difference. Danny at first at the top with 35 points, and Victor Bernat with 27 points in 7th place. We can't discount other drivers like Mark Shilagi for Signwinder Motorsport, who has been setting up quite the pace on the practice server, had the second fastest lap time, merely couple or tens behind Chris. So I reckon Mark can turn himself from number 8 definitely in the top 5 this round. And let's not forget that in the 10th place after a woeful lack, Ike Marva is in 10th place, so there is a lot of competitive drivers here.
No, yeah, even compared to previous seasons, did you really expect to see this kind of competition?
No, I honestly did not expect this many competitive or this close competition. between so many different drivers. We had quite a few drivers. I mean, Bobby Vaquinov and Mark, they have came in and rocked the boat, as one could speak. They definitely added to the quality of drivers that we have here today. I mean, seasons prior, we had Johan, we had Victor Bernat, Ike, Juan. Chris was only for a few rounds last season, so he's relatively new for a full season. So is Martin Oliveira. So in reality, we had like the amount of quality drivers have doubled.
Yeah, and the thing is as well that now that we have the 104% rule, it does make it unfortunate for some people who cannot really match the pace of everyone and cannot qualify for these races. But even despite that, we're still getting great attendance with new drivers as well showing up, and it's amazing to see so many new drivers just adding to the quality of the field and making the racing even more exciting. And speaking of excitement, let's talk a little bit about this track, shall we? What do you think of this circuit?
I do honestly think that Argentina has some quite hidden gems. While the tracks do like pizzazz, the layers are honestly a breath of fresh air from what we used on the European continent at the very least. Since Herman Tilke had very little say on the South American continent, but it just shows you to highlight how engraved motorsport is within the Argentinian scene.
Yeah, and speaking of the Argentinian scene as well, I know that when I first thought about this track to some of the drivers, they first confused the track with I think it was Buenos Aires. Yeah, and this circuit, not to be confused with Buenos Aires, though it's very similar, but the distinct thing about Buenos Aires is its layout resembling an Amogus. So this is not this is a different track, but I think in terms of quality, this track is just as good, if not even better. And I'm really excited to see the flowing turns. There's 14 turns on this circuit, 4.8 kilometers, a good length for this car. Uh, we're as we are seeing lap times of about 1 minute 35. Um, and yeah, in real life, this track hosts a host of different competitions. Um, Most of all MotoGP, but also DCR South America, I believe some Porsche racing, and also some junior formulas in South America.
Uh,
The race, the race lap record currently is held by Valentino Rossi. It's a 1:39.019, so we're beating that in this car, which is great to see. As we see Shilagi jump up into second place, we're seeing the field starting to close up a little bit with 7.5 minutes to go in qualifying, and I think this is already still going to be shoveled up a bit because the gaps are quite small, and I expect people like Johan to still find some time because we know what Johan is capable of, and I'm sure he's closer than 9/10 off the pace.
Oh, definitely, he's closer than 9 tenths. He didn't have as much practice on this track as he probably is used to having around some previous seasons that we've seen him, particularly like BTCC and Super GT seasons, and even Praga. Oh, as I was driving with Victor, Victor loses it through the turn, and that nullifies his lap for now. He's still got plenty of time to set another lap time, but for now, Victor will have to settle for the 7th place as his teammate Johan Karolczak is currently, well, he's not on an improvement. Let's find a driver who is improving. Venelin. Speaking of Venelin, we should probably introduce Venelin in a little bit, as we have quite a surprise for our viewers here today. Venelin has volunteered to be our on-track commentator, so whenever we want to see what's going on out on the track, we can nip back into the driver's radio comms and ask him how's it going. In fact, should we bring him on now? Or should we let him finish the lap first?
Van, we have a question for you. Is this a good lap?
I think Ben's concentrating for a little bit.
Yeah. As he hits that cone, I don't think that exists anymore on his screen.
Ven is Svetny has invalidated his lap time, unfortunately, but he has been going 4 times quicker at the moment, so we would have put him within the top 10, I reckon.
I wonder if he's having problems with his microphone, as he's having problems with keeping it on the track currently. But no worries, he's starting another lap, and hopefully this one turns out a little bit better for him. As
Definitely.
we're gonna stop trying to communicate with him because I think he wants to focus.
Definitely. Let's leave Venlin to focus. He goes extremely wide in that turn one, which is not the line that you want to take. We saw the quick drivers. In fact, where is Chris Boxer right now? Oh, he's not going through the turn one yet. Not even out on an improvement. However, Mark is out on an improvement. He's just coming to the end of sector one into the what I think will be the primary overtaking opportunity. The cars reach the top speed. Some reaching 290 kilometers an hour, about 170 miles an hour in British Imperial and American Freedom units. But 290 kilometers an hour, hard on the brakes into that hairpin, and that will be your primary spot to overtake.
I do have a slight feeling that overtaking might be a little bit tricky on this track just because of the lack of proper slow speed corners, and that's mostly due to the track that due to the fact that this is a MotoGP track, and it kind of shows in the layout because even the slowest corners are still like very wide radius corners, all things considered. You don't really slow down much and hit like a tight apex as you would in on some European tracks, but it's it makes for a unique challenge, and I think with how flowing the corners are, it's still gonna provide some racing. And I'm not. I believe dirty air in this car is not even that bad comparing to comparing to other cars, like you would have your Formula cars, where I'm sure those would be unraceable here. But I think with this car, it's a great balance of this car having a lot of grip. As
Ooh.
he loses that grip by going onto the grass, you will not get much grip there. But as I was saying, you have a lot of grip in these cars, but you don't get dirty air when driving behind someone, or at least not much of it, which really makes for some amazing and amazingly close racing.
This is what I like about GT races and closed-wheeled racing in general. As well, close racing that's not prototypes. The cars don't rely on aerodynamic grip too much and rely on mechanical, which allows the cars to follow each other very closely through most of the corners, which leads to much closer racing. I mean, you can see some GT racing where there's a car literally sitting on the bumper through the entirety of Spa, entirety of Paul Ricard, the entirety of inset track here. And as we know, as from what we actually seen from the driver said that this car actually understeers naturally without any dirty air. So if you put another car in front of it, it probably won't. It won't help the situation, but it definitely won't make the car undrivable.
Yeah, and that's another topic that is becoming a very common topic of discussion for all of our drivers is the setup, because this is a semi-fixed setup but still relatively open compared to previous seasons, and with this car being very specific in how it drives on the default setup, the drivers are doing anything they can to balance it out, and they've already found a certain exploit with the ride heights where the higher the reg, the higher the straight line speed, and you don't really lose anything for it, which is odd to say the least. But it just happens with cars on this game, unfortunately.
It
Um,
reminds me of the exploit that Johan has found in back in the Super GT with the Toyota. He said that if you increase the ride height on the Toyota at the front, the car was actually more drivable and faster.
yeah, and it's also it's fun to watch how all these drivers take the circuit because, uh, as I said, naturally this car is very understeer, but um, I know that a lot of drivers have found setups that oversteer quite a bit in the corners, and I know Luca Centorbi was driving one of Danny Tutui's setups at Anadara, and he was complaining all race about it being too oversteery for him, which compared to what most drivers will feel when first driving this car, it's quite strange to hear, but that's just how it is with a an open setup.
It is, and that's why I do like open setups because it allows the driver to tailor the car to him. Some drivers are better at tailoring setups than others, but that's one of the talking points that yes, you can say that closed setup does bring the field together, but if the setup is not to your liking, you will struggle throughout the season. We had that in Praga. A lot of drivers were complaining that when we locked the differential that for the Pragas, they were like, I just can't, I just you've just turned this car into a horrible monster. I hate driving it.
Yeah, and that's the big discussion whenever you choose to do either a locked setup or an open setup. It's because if you do a locked setup, sure, it puts everyone on the same page with everything, but it also makes the car very uncomfortable for people who don't get the chance to adjust it to their liking anymore. But we've been talking about a lot of things during this qualifying, but we've not been talking about what's been happening on track really. As we see Martin Oliveira disconnect, but he's currently P4 right now. So if he reconnects, he will jump back up to P4 and he will start there.
I reckon
As it
he
stands, if no one improves.
I reckon he will most likely not reconnect. The qualifying is pretty much over, and we will need to be switching to the race server. But what is the qualifying so far? We have Victor Bernard jumping up to second place, with Martin Shilaki dropping down to third. There's so small differences between each other. I believe Martin is still on a valid lap time. So as the drivers slowly filtering across the start finish line, Victor Bernard is off the track. Let's drive on with Mark Shilai. Ike Marva says the absolute fastest middle sector, but he's not improving. Who else is up on a track that's improving? Bobby is out improving by a tenth and a half. Mark apparently 2/10 up through towards the end of sector 2, so he's got a few more corners left. This one, and there's 3 more after that. Very tricky corner this one is. How is Mark doing? Still about a tenth up. Let's ride on board with him.
This might be a P2 lap if he completes this.
He very much could be a P2 lap, definitely putting into 135. He did 135.8 on the practice server. Ike Marva is off. Ike Marva stays where he is. That's P4 for Ike Marva, and that's P2 for Mark Shilai.
And that's a very good lap in this field, and no one else is going to be improving here unless Brandage has something to say about it. No, so that's the order. And what a performance from Chris. We didn't really get a chance to talk about it, but he's 4/10 ahead of everyone. And you know, if you look at the practice server times, it's not so surprising, but it's nonetheless really impressive in a field like this.
From what I've seen from Chris, he's carrying on the trend he set in round one. Round one, Chris was way ahead in terms of practice pace, and he didn't manage to put it together qualifying. But Chris has taken to this car extremely well, and I reckon he could be the strongest championship contender. And I reckon he might even be a stronger contender than his teammate Daniel Tsutsui, especially with the amount of lap times and practice he's putting in.
Yeah. The thing is that in the race anything can happen, especially in this league and with the reverse grid race too as well. So I do expect him to pull away because that pace is absolutely immense compared to everyone else. But behind him the field is so close. I cannot really put any bets on anyone because at this track in this car in this league you cannot make any foregone conclusions, especially not from qualifying. And that's really exciting to me. So I cannot wait to see it.
Definitely, it will definitely be very exciting to see what what all the drivers will come to be. So we're now just waiting for everything to transfer over to the race server. Let's see if we see in the chat anything that chat is. Let's actually speak to Ven. Ven is now done with his qualifying, and let's see if he has managed to fix his comms, or we managed to get a connection to Ven, our man in the field amongst the chaos.
Yes, I think I've got everything fixed. We're all good. It was just that Discord had some technical difficulties the first time. But yeah, I am here, and my qualifying was pretty dreadful. I can't lie. I felt miserable out there. I can't lie compared to the others. But you know, I think I'm just gonna pray that I avoid all the carnage and try to finish in the highest position possible, Anno style, without trying.
I believe we had a little bit of a.
Yeah, we're still having some technical difficulties.
Are we?
I
My
think
goodness.
You did cut out a little bit.
I think this may have been due to our software in regards to what's the word I'm looking for? In regards to our communication software.
I mean, regardless, all I was gonna say is that my qualifying was pretty miserable compared to the others, but I'm just gonna have fun out there and enjoy my retirement tour, as I said earlier. to Matt, and yeah, hopefully things come together maybe in the race. We'll see.
I believe you have said that you are only participating 3 rounds this season.
I mean, that's presumably, and like I said, it's provisional right now, and
Then would you be leave
yeah.
the server if you could?
I don't know what's going on. It's been too long since I've done this. I have to apologize. It's been too long. So
Yeah, it's all perfectly
yeah.
fine. Once everyone's leave the server can calculate the results.
Oh, okay. I do apologize for that.
That's
then.
perfectly fine. We are doing the race weekend feature, and I remember you
Yeah.
had quite the experience with the race weekend feature back when we hosted the Summer Sim Racing Festival, which, by the way, will be coming back this year. Hopefully bigger than
Yes.
ever.
Yes, we hope so too. As you said, Matt, you took the words out of my mouth. But yeah, I mean, that was a fun feature to use. I mean, first time using it, of course, there was going to be some technical difficulties on my end, especially because I'm usually kind of the promoter of this race and really an organizer behind the scenes. So no, it was bound to happen. But yeah, overall though, for this race, I am very much looking forward to it, just getting back on track and getting that rush again, on being on track again. It really feels amazing. It's just a shame that I am in the last positions, but yeah, it is what it is, and I was gonna
It's
try and
ve-
move on, and yeah.
It's very car dependent because I know that with a controller, I'm not sure whether you have more sway on how the car drives or less sway than how the car drives. Because you in the ETM, you were the pace setter. You were on course for win until you had an unfortunate incident with a certain Romanian.
This certain Romania. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess that car suited me really well by driving style. Maybe. I mean, I guess to be fair, the guys have done a lot of. The guys would have done a lot more practice than I have. I'm just here casually. I don't need to take this too much seriously because I'm not fighting for a championship. And maybe I'm probably the person who's having the most fun right now on the grid because I have no expectations. I'm just vibing, and I think that's the beauty of it.
All here for the vibes, but that's usually the best way to race. We're not racing esports, we're not racing for money. There is a trophy in the line, but again, that's about it.
Yeah, as you mentioned, and yeah, honestly, I'm just like I said, I'm excited to be on the grid once again. I have had this feeling honestly, I think last time I did was a Kayama, right? But I raced here, so it's great to be here, and
It is very much. And it seems like
qualifications.
we're having a little bit problem with the real penalty once again, because real penalty is being very much a pain. So I think it's time to do a small restart and without real penalty.
Looks fun. We're doing restart. Okay, I'm just leaving then.
Yeah, we just had to restart because we just had a problem with real penalty. Everyone loves real penalty.
Wait, so can I rejoin? So to rejoin the server now?
Yeah, just rejoin.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, honestly, it's good sometimes to get out of the commentary box, So yeah.
Indeed, it very much is good to get out commentary and race. Sometimes I do miss racing myself, just to see if I've lost it or if I've actually just from out of going managed to mellow out.
I've definitely lost it. I've definitely lost it. I'm seeing the other guys' pace, but I truly think that it's something to do with my setup rather than my driving, because I believe I'm not a second and a half slower than the lead guys. I don't think there is any way. I was second, but definitely not half a second.
Definitely not. And yeah, it all depends. Because it's all very much dependent on track time as well. All the other drivers have had a lot of track time. I mean, in terms of Chris Boxall has already turned over 1,000 laps in this car. If I'm not mistaken, if you had all of his, it could actually be 1,200 laps in this car across the 2 tracks, the 2 race weekends. So drivers like that have a lot more experience already in the car and got used to how to drive it.
Yeah, exactly. This is my first time jumping in the car, realistically, and yeah, like I said, I think my goal is just at least for this first race, is just to try and first of all don't run out of fuel. I think I put enough fuel, and secondly is to try and just survive turn 1 and just try to have a clean race, even if I can't keep up with people, at least to drive on myself and don't make a fool out of myself in this car. I think that's the goal for me, at least.
Indeed, and it seems like I think we have majority of the people in. Are we missing anybody? I am not too sure. Let me just double check from the results. So we have Chris in pole position, Mashilaki in second place, Victor Bernard third place with Ika Marava in fourth, Bobby Vakuinov and Martin Rivera fifth and sixth. Juan Gramash followed by Johan Karolczak, as Johan Karolczak is who we are missing.
Could you please share your screen, by the way?
Yes, so that's the driver who we are missing. If he's around.
Also, Andrew Barr still does not have his correct skin, so we deeply apologize for that.
I mean, all you need to know is that my skin is correct, aka the random one that the in-game chose. And I wish everybody watching the stream good luck, as I'm about to start.
Oh, that is
And
Johan
hopefully I have a
Karolczak
good
joining in
start.
very, very late. Hopefully he can get in just in time. So 3 out of 5 lights, 6 lights are on, and we are racing. So Johan Karolczak did manage to get onto the grid just in time. Hopefully he had enough time to refuel his car and not underfueled. But Chris Boxall takes the lead in a leading fashion.
Oh,
Actually,
he goes very
wide.
wide, very wide. He's losing several positions there. That's the last thing he needed, and that's the only thing that could really take him out of this lead. As we see them going 3 wide for a moment, 2 by 2, all throughout the field. It's difficult to make out an order like this.
Indeed, we did have an order. We had Johan Karolczak at the back of the grid again. So Johan Karolczak, after joining just 5 seconds before the start of the session, for one reason or another, has managed to get back. He's already at the back of the grid.
When there's contact there, Victor Bernard goes for the move on the inside, goes a little bit wide on the apex, just bumps with Vakunov, but no harm done there, apart from a 1 second gap to the leader in Shilagi. But it seems to all be settling down a bit now, and all things considered, quite a clean start apart from Johan Karolczak facing the wrong way in the first sector there.
Johan Karolczak is still off to the side. Very unfortunate for Johan. Johan has joined to the last, right at the last minute. Not sure what happened to Johan Karolczak, why he joined so late.
Yeah, he seems to be very upset about it right now, but yeah, I'm not sure what exactly happened there. We will have to review it after the race, but regardless of that, we're seeing some very close racing already here. Position swapping all around the field. We're seeing Szymanski and Andrew Bayer, and the battles up and down the field. Basically, we're seeing a battle here for P3. Juan Gramach challenging Victor Bernard there into the first turn, and they're still not giving each other any room, with Martin Oliveira now joining in on the battle, but having to settle down a little bit. And Andrew Barrett and Anwar are swapping. They're side by side going into the third turn. Wow, I need to catch my breath.
Yeah, so I'll leave where you have left off. So we have Andrew Bayer followed closely by Albert Szymanski trying to defend. Now Albert Szymanski will have a run down into the hairpin. Who's late on the brakes? And it's Albert Szymanski that slides on by Andrew Bayer into the hairpin. A very nice clean move there. We might have to stick by with Andrew Bayer for a moment. Let's see if he can recover some positions from here.
As he's in the slipstream, tucking in, not looking for a move much there, although he's now, that gap opens up for him as Szymanski goes a little bit wide of the apex there, but nothing doing there as they're going into the sweeping left-hander, a little bit uphill, a little bit over the curb there. It's a very flowing part of the track, but not many opportunities for overtaking here. He'll have to wait a little bit as Chris Boxall is right on the back of Benelin Uzunov, who I'm sure is having a lot of fun here, battling with the quickest driver on the track, but on the other hand, it's quite... on the other half of the story is Chris Boxall.
Well, we have contact in the behind. Vazemniks and Jay Brandish had a little get-together. Oh, it's a contact between teammates.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna really hurt in the debrief after the race, I'm sure. But as I was saying, Chris Boxall is stuck in P9 behind Benelli Uzunov, and that's disaster for him because he qualified P1, was fastest in the practice servers, fastest in qualifying by miles, and now he's fighting for scraps basically. How has this happened?
It's very interesting. So Albert Szymański is still ahead of Andrew Bayer. In fact, we have a little bit of a change of positions up ahead. Goat Scuderia, one man down after what I have come to the conclusion. It's just the load time for Johan Karczak has been just too long, and he started loading into the server before I even pinged that. Who's that? That's I
Oh,
believe
that's a big spin.
that's
He
Victor
broke
Bernard.
Victor Bernard just broke on the grass. I think, and when you try to break on the grass in any car, it's just not going to give you any grip. The, the tires on the right will slow down, but the ones on the left will not. And we saw him spinning out, and he's DNF'd. He's given up already.
It's very shame to see Victor Bernard DNF. He's definitely a driver who could score some good points, and I reckon could have kept some good championship points. As Ike Marve, both Martin and Juan going wide. Ike looking for an opportunity on his teammate, as Martin Shilaikov and Bobby Vakuinov, the Sidewinders Motorsport, taking a confident 1-2 in the race.
And they're pulling away a lot, considering everything in the field, and how I wonder how much Chris Boxall wishes he could be there, and I'm sure he will make his way through the field, and I'm really interested to watch it. But as we look for the battle for P3, I have to say it's very difficult to follow when all the cars look the same.
Very much. You have red, and then we used to have two more red cars, but the two more red cars, the Goat Scuderia, the team championship leaders, might find it difficult to retain that lead. Martin Oliveira still keeping the hopes alive for Goat Scuderia.
As we see a little bit of a glitch, I don't think Iker Maraver is first. Or wait, what's happening with the leaderboard?
Not too sure. It seems like we have a little bit of a glitch issues as well with the standings, but I believe
Okay,
it's just
fixing itself now.
it's just ACTV standings. It's just ACTV being ACTV. So let's just wind
Iker is
up.
back in his correct position. Don't worry about that.
Martin Oliveira is pulling ahead of Juan Gramache, almost 1 second.
As we see Bobby setting the fastest lap in P2, which is very good news for people who are waiting a lead battle for this race. I'm sure that will come eventually, and that is a very good sign for it. But looking down the field, the closest battle I think we have is Chris Boxall and Luca Cintorbi. Chris looking to make up positions after his terrible lap 1, which left him down in the dumps, quite frankly. And he's now he's in slipstream range coming onto this straight. So I wonder if we can have a look at that angle.
So yeah, Chris Boxall is on a recovering drive after going wide so wide at the start, losing all of his positions. So it's going to be an interesting recovery drive to see if Cyanide. Ooh, however, he's not able to make his by Luca Centrobi.
Yeah. And let's remember, it might not be obvious from the liveries, but these Cyanide and Wazoo Racing, the two cars that we see in this picture, they are actually sister teams. So I wonder if Luca Centorbi is going to make it any easier for Chris, but it does not seem like it. I think Luca is very comfortable where he's at. We have spin for Venelin Uzunov. Careful on the rejoin, but that is going to drop him down a lot of positions. He's dropped from P8 or P9 all the way to P11. So all things considered, it's not too much loss in terms of positions, but it's gonna be a big knock to his confidence, I'm sure.
Oh, certainly. So, as it currently stands, we are almost halfway through the race. We have two DNS, both Goat Scuderia drivers. We have Johan Karolczak, who just for one reason or another, took such a long time to load. Not sure whether that was just a issue or just a connection issue with the server. Something that might be looking to the further. And we have Victor Bernard, who has crashed out after spinning himself into the gravel. But as it currently stands, we have Motorsport, Sidewinder Motorsport 1-2, followed by Martin Oliveira in second place, plus Ultra Team Automobilismo in 4th, 5th, and Lucas Entrobi with Chris Boxall on a recovery drive in 7th place. Anno in 8th, Szymański 9th, and Andrew Bayer in 10th place. So, Chris Boxall still not being able to close the gap and overtake Lucas Entrobi there. Now 4 seconds back from 5th place Ika Marve. Bobby Vakuinov just 1 second behind his teammate Martin Oliveira. Martin Oliveira is slowly catching up to the back of the duo. He's 2.5 seconds now behind Martin Sidewinders. Ooh, just a 10th behind. Juan Gramage now says the fastest lap time of the race with 1:36.351. So it was certainly. What I'm looking forward to is I'm looking to see what the results will say at the end of this round. So. This is the closest battle we have on track, and surprisingly, even with such a long straight, we still don't see many moves down into that final chicanes. Like, the brakes on these cars are extremely good, and from what we've been told by Danny before, it seems these cars love chicane more than anything. Chris Boxall goes wide, tries to cut under to get much better exit. This is not exactly the corner complex that you could exactly exploit it. Luca hacks the inside.
We see Benelin making another mistake, going further and further down the field in terms of lap time, and the gaps to the next driver, which is going to be such a shame. Do we dare interview him right now?
Where is Benelin?
After that horrible lap of 2 minutes and 23 seconds.
Yeah, let's bring.
I think that's about 40 seconds off the normal pace. Ven, are you doing okay?
Yes, I'm doing okay. Just that the car had a technical issue midway through the corner, and yeah, it seems like the traction control isn't working correctly right now, and that's what caused us to go off. Then we overheated the tires, that's why we had to come in and change tires and to check the software issue. And it wasn't in the car. I've switched.
Sorry to cut you off then, but Chris Boxall is going for an outside move on Lucas Entrobi. Lucas Entrobi goes deep on the
He
brakes!
does a switch back.
But Chris Boxall cannot get the power down, and Lucas Entrobi just drives away, but they're still side by side going into turn 2. Will Chris try and drive around the outside? Will Luca keeps it this time and doesn't outbrake himself, and Chris is forced to stay behind for one more lap.
And I wonder if Chris is maybe caught by surprise here a little bit as he goes onto the grass. I wonder if he did not really expect to have this much trouble overtaking another car, and especially Lucan Chidorbi. He's doing an amazing job defending against him. I wonder if this might just be a difficult track to overtake apart from lap 1.
Indeed. But as we see, Martin Oliveira is now closing in. He's hovering around that 1 second, 1.9 seconds. Every single time he gets. Where is Martin Oliveira? Martin Oliveira, it's the middle
As
of
Chris
sector 2.
goes wide again, it seems to be a recurring theme from all the way from the very first corner of the race. He's incredibly quick, but he's making a lot of mistakes, and I mean a lot of mistakes, and that's not something you can really accept as someone who has the pace to be fighting for a championship. You cannot make this many mistakes, because it really shows by where he is currently in the field. He should be up the road right now, but he's in P7.
Indeed, so it definitely is something to watch out for. And Chris Boxall, that could be Chris Boxall might find himself with an unfortunate title of being called the Lando Norris of this season.
I think it's a bit too early to call it that. We're only in round 2.
Indeed,
But
so it will definitely be interesting. Bobby Vakuinov has lost a few times to his teammate, and Juan Gramash has gained a few times up to the back of Martin Oliveira. Martin Oliveira still hovering in that 2 second, 2.2 seconds. All the drivers up front, they're on the same pace. The problem is they're too far apart for them to fight each other and use that similar pace. Lucas Entrobi is now 6.5 seconds away from fifth place. Chris Boxall has caught onto the back of Lucas Entrobi, but he is still 1 second away.
It feels like all the gaps are relatively close to each other, but they're just not converging in a way that would allow them to have a battle. We're desperately looking for a battle for the lead or a battle for the podium, and they're so close, but they're not close enough to really duke it out. And I think it will take a mistake for anything to really happen here.
Indeed. Very indeed. So we'll keep an eye on for Andrew Bayer and Albert Szymański battle for the 9th and 10th. They are in the very unfortunate position that they are in the reverse grid positions. Yeah, very much good positions for that reverse grid. First and second, Andrew Bayer has the reverse grid pole for the time being, so it'll be interesting to see what race 2 will provide. Chris Boxall might actually utilize it the best, in seeing as he's the fastest driver and the furthest up the grid. Only second row back, so let's see if he's able to actually make less mistakes. But as I say that, I just noticed Juan Gramache 3 times behind Martin Oliveira in the slipstream down the longest straight. Let's see what they can make out of it. Now, the problem with the slipstreaming is I believe a little bit more powerful than the Ginetta, but from what I understand, all of these drivers run zero wing. It doesn't.
It doesn't look strong enough. We saw that on the straight. They were entering the straight. He was about less than 3 tenths behind, and entering the braking zone, he was still only like 2 tenths behind. It feels like the slipstream is not doing anything, and I wonder if that's just how the slipstream is, or if there is maybe a setup difference between how Juan and Martin have chosen to handle this. As Lukasz Torbi loses the position to Chris Boxall, it looks like they're still fighting it out behind. Can we please look at it, Matt?
Oh, there's fighting behind with Chris Boxall and Lucas Entrobi, but I think they're in the same boat as the 2 drivers up ahead of Juan and Martin Oliveira.
They had just swapped positions a little bit. I wonder what happened there. It's a shame we missed it, but it looks like Luca pulled off another defense, and that is not only just keeping his position, but also losing Chris Boxall any hope of recovering anywhere in this race. And it was 3 minutes ago. 8 seconds is not realistic for either of them to make up to Iker Maraver or anyone ahead, unless anyone makes a mistake.
Indeed, so it'll be very interesting to see if Chris Boxall might just have to throw in the towel and just hope. Oh, very sideways and very wild on the exit, Chris Boxall. He is certainly overdriving the car. He's mashing that throttle a little bit more, probably trying to use the traction control that these cars come with to its best ability to just drive. It seems like he's driving a little bit annoyed. He's like, oh.
Yeah, I do wonder if he's getting a little bit impatient because he's been stuck behind Luca for basically half the race. And he's been trying everything to overtake him, as Ben makes an overtake on, I don't know how to say that name.
I believe it's Verzemniak is in 13th place. Now, remember last round, Verzemniak was saying that if he can score some points this season, it will be very good. I don't think he expected to be in P13. Yes, true, we do have 2 DNFs and there were 15 drivers starting, but you still have to finish first. First, you have to finish.
Absolutely, and you know, when you put it like that, he can go home after this race and say that he finished ahead of Victor Bernat and Johan Karolczak.
Mind you, that Victor Bernat is a Let Pro Racing champion from season 3, and Johan Karolczak is a multiple runner-up.
Some say he deserves a championship as well.
Definitely. I honestly think if it wasn't for attendance, it would be Johan and not Ike who would be a double LPR champion.
Yeah, I do have to completely agree with you on there. But back to the race, we're starting to run out of time, and Chris Boxall is definitely going to be running out of patience, and he will be looking to just make up that one single position just for his satisfaction, because this is definitely not how he wanted the race to go. But he's getting a bit too desperate. He's going for looks up the inside, just to try to scare Lukasz.
Oh, we have Verzemniak in the gravel.
And that's
the leaders.
And careful on the rejoin. He's going to be lapped by the leaders. He's getting off the racing line, letting them go. Yeah, well done there.
Yeah,
as
Vajemni is
Chris
too.
Boxall is getting very, very close to Luka Chintorbi for P6.
Indeed,
It
and they're
looks like
side
they're
by
side by
side
side.
indeed. Side by side through the long left hander. He's on the outside. Switches again to another outside. Tries to completely outbrake Luca.
And it seems like he seems to favor that outside line a bit more than the inside, but it's not worked for him yet. He's in the slipstream looking for moves, looking to scare Lukaku Derby off, but it's not working out for him. It's only losing him more time and losing him opportunities to make an overtake. But he still has maybe another lap to go to look for any kind of move as he goes to the inside. That's a very brave move. Breaks deep, breaks late, makes the apex, has the outside for the last corner, and he's finally got the move down. But Luca is not giving it
But
up.
does
He's going
he?
side by
No.
side.
Luca's actually ahead now. Luca goes back ahead with a much better drive out of the final corner.
And I wonder if Luca has much less downforce than Chris or better straight line speed because he did not look like he had that much of a good exit, but he just walked away from him on the straight.
Indeed, it very much seems. Well, I wonder whether it's Chris Boxer with either a little bit extra drag or he is carrying. He could be carrying damage here and there. Little body roll could cause a little bit more drag down the straight, which is why Luca was just able to just walk away like he was standing still.
As the leader is on the final lap, it's I have to say, Shiragi has been in the lead for the entire race, but he's only been 1 second ahead of P2 in Vakunov, and uh, yeah, he's been unchallenged, but it's been close as we see. It can oh or no, sorry, false alarm. That's a lap car.
That is a lap car indeed, and Evgeny just doing everything. In fact, he's doing way more than he should, than he needs to do to get out of the way of the lapped cars. A good sportsmanship driving, and a very well behaved driver. And then
And
Mark
this might
Shilagi actually comes across the start-finish line with Bobby Vikunov in second. So Sidewinder Motorsport 1 and 2 with Martin Oliveira third for Gold Scuderia, Juan Gramache fourth place, Ike Marva in fifth place, Lucas Santorbi and Chris Boxo still going nip and toe against one another. If Chris Boxo was just able to pull this move on this lap, he probably could have taken that sixth spot, but it is Luca in sixth, Boxo in seventh, Anna will come across in eighth place, a good finishing position within top 10 for Wazoo Windmill Racing. Albert Szymanski will come across 9th place. Andrew Bayer securing first reverse pole of this this season. Jay Brandish will come across 11th place with Venelin Uzunov in 12th place. Vazemniks will come across 13th place to score his first point in the race in this championship.
and all things considered, it's been very very clean racing in race one, and usually race two is a very different story. Uh, it's been clean, but it's also been very calm. There's not been much overtaking beyond the first laps, and I wonder how much that's going to change in the second race as we're going to flip the field and shuffle it up a little bit. So this theoretically faster drivers are going to be starting in the middle of the field, and they will have to basically work their way towards the front to have any chance of winning the race. And it looks like on this track it's going to be quite a challenge. So I wonder who is up for it.
Indeed, and there seems to be quite a few. We already have Luca and Chris saying saying that they really enjoyed the battle that they had, which has been well. We certainly enjoyed watching, and there has been some stellar defensive driver from Luca, and he's definitely going to be very happy. They're not even mad at each other. Well, Luca is certainly not annoyed about the move that Chris has put on him, and it just says that's just racing sometimes. Yeah, thank you, Peppercorn Yin. Yeah, that's definitely that was exciting stuff. I'm definitely excited to maybe take part in later in the league. Definitely happy to have more drivers in our racing today. In our racing in our series, the more the merrier. So if anyone's interested, do feel free to join in.
And speaking of excitement, there is still race 2 to look forward to, which I believe, which, if we're going by precedent, it's going to be chaotic. And and there's gonna be a lot of stories to be made from race 2, I'm sure. And I cannot wait to see it. And I hope anyone watching will stick around for that because it will be coming up in just a few minutes.
It will certainly be coming up in just a few minutes. We're just waiting for final drivers to exit the server, and then we can start it.
As Van is formally announcing his retirement, so I feel like we could ask him about it on the spot.
In it, Ven is saying, in fact, I got beaten by Anna Luca tells you enough about my ability, henceforth I announce my retirement.
Van, following the story that you just put up on social media, saying that you are formally retiring, do you have anything to say about your retirement and why you chose to, make this tough decision? I'm sure it took months of preparation for you.
I mean, all I have to say is in the commentary box, you can put the AC on, you can just lay back and chill. And in the car, you're very tense, a lot of nerves are shared for every race. And yeah, it's just easy in the commentary box, and people seem to enjoy my commentary a lot more than my racing, especially today. And like I said earlier, the fact that I got beaten by people who I was comfortably beating before, shows you enough of my skills right now. And I think they have slowly deteriorated over the course of the time I've not been racing. So I think it's fair to say that I will be announcing my retirement, but I'll be back for next race. I mean, no, I'm joking. We'll see how things go, but yeah, just let's see how race 2 goes. But I think this might be my last race, genuinely, because I'm not very I was doing okay when I was alone, but when I got in the pack, it was just carnage. And yeah.
Well, I must say I quite enjoy having you racing, to be honest, especially when we can ask you directly after explain how you're feeling. It really
I
adds
mean,
a dynamic to the stream.
the spin was a technical issue with the car, with the traction control, and how it worked. The problem was that I put too much throttle, and the traction control glitched according to the system, and yeah, that's why we spun. Then we had to come in and change
Has
tires, and
has
yeah.
your team figured out the issue yet?
They say they're working on it, and hopefully they can get it fixed for race 2, which I'll be starting from pole position, right? So yeah.
It's a top 10 reversed.
So I should not have pitted then. That was the wrong decision because I pitted to get reverse grid pole. Now that I find out it's top 10, I want to slowly jump off a bridge. Do not do that at home. And yeah.
Yes, very very dangerous. Do not do that.
Indeed, very dangerous. Let's see if everything
Well,
is set
I
up
suppose
correctly.
I suppose this is a lesson for anyone watching. If you want to join our league, read up on the rulebook first, please.
I mean, that's what happens when you're just like, I don't have uni for the next 3 weeks, I might as well jump into a race.
Indeed, might as well jump into the race. Let's just see if everything is up in order in terms of the entry list. Making sure all the drivers are able to connect. Alright, it seems that, yep, we have the very unfortunate recipient of race 1, Johan Karolczak. It seems like he hasn't had the greatest start of the season. Round 1, Johan has had the unfortunate of being the only driver who came out worse in lap 1, having to do a recovery drive against 20 odd other drivers. In fact, he did secure himself a race to reverse pole. Again, race to pole, and that secured him second place, so at least he was able to save a little bit of that round 1. But here he will have a much higher challenge, starting from P15 getting up to all the way to P1. He does have his teammate to help, Victor Bernard in P14, who again himself has not had the greatest start, being knocked out in the second race at round 1 after securing the victory in the very first race at Anadara.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but being on the grid for the last time is very emotional. No, I'm joking, but yeah, it's I kind of wish I read up on the rules so I didn't pit after I spam and try to get P10, but it is what it is. And yeah, I just wanna give a shout out to Matt and Sarah for doing commentary and letting me race, make a fool of myself. That's two wonderful people that are commentating over this race, and I can't wait to watch the VOD back. I'm gonna watch the VOD back. Um, yeah, I just love you too, and thanks for letting me make a fool of myself in this car.
Thank you for racing, Van. It's always a pleasure to seeing you out behind the wheel. Hopefully in the future we'll do DTM and you will be forced to get back, considering how good that race was that you had with him.
I mean, that was a good race. I think honestly, I have to be honest. I never expected to have that performance. Never in 100 years. I generally thought when I joined that server, I thought I was gonna be at best P5, P6, and the fact that I nearly won. Unfortunately, technical issues came into the end, and then the incident with Danny, who is not racing today. Unfortunately, hope he's doing okay. Yeah, that's what happened, and maybe for DTM we'll see. Maybe one race return, perhaps if Saudi money, if a Saudi sponsorship comes through, I'll definitely take it.
Matt, could you please share your screen with me?
Nope. The streaming data has limit.
Anyways,
so
I
we
just
will
wanna
not
wish
have a
everybody
second
watching
commentator
good luck.
today.
No, you will watch the stream to give me ad revenue. Anyway, we have 20 seconds until the lights
Yeah.
go out.
Alright, just want to wish everybody good luck, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the show.
Good luck to you as well, Ben.
Right, the lights come on. Would you like to do the honors?
Okay, so we have 10 seconds before the race starts. The lights are going to start coming on now. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red lights. Pause. And it's go 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 after a long pause, long hold for Andrew Byard, taking taking the lead, keeping it there. But behind him, it's side by side throughout the entire field. We already have a spinner there at the back, but coming through the next turns, it's almost 3 wide at some points. But they're all keeping it fairly sensible, fairly clean, and the entire field is being shuffled up right now.
That the entire field is being shuffled up, so we have Andrew Bayer retaining the speed. Anno in second place, Albert Szymanski drops to third place, Lukas Entorbi in fourth place, Chris Boxall drops to ninth place, Johan Karolczak already making up 2 spots, he's already up 3 spots in fact, he's already up to P12, driver 7, we have 3 wide on the exit of this corner. Johan Gramas up to P4 already, what a start from these Spaniards.
But amazing, they're all keeping it clean. They're fighting so hard. All of them giving each other minimal
that's more
space.
drivers are wide.
That's a lot. That's a lot of drama.
That's a lot of drama. I think that could be a red flag.
That could.
Right, I think that is a call for a red flag conditions.
Yeah.
Right,
how do I do this?
Race restart session.
Okay,
so yeah, that has been a red flag condition. Very unfortunate. That had like 8 drivers involved with one another.
And that is such a shame because that was such a clean start up until then. I was just praising everyone, and just in that one turn, it took one incident, and it unfortunately got everyone involved. And it seems that turn is sort of troublesome for some drivers because we see everyone going wide there at one point or another.
So we had a few drivers that will be investigated post-race. So now we have a 3-minute calm down a little bit. So it seems like we had a little bit of a well, people want to say that F1 is the pinnacle of motorsport, and we certainly saw it today with Hungary, 20, was it 2021?
Yeah, 2021.
South American version of recreation. That was the word I'm looking for. Recreation of that.
It gives Chris Boxall a third chance to get a good start.
Indeed.
Maybe third time's the charm for him.
indeed, maybe there's a chance. And yeah, bad luck from Johan. Johan managed to go all the way from last to P5, denied by a restart. It is within the rules that only lap 1 will get restarted. Some people may call it a bit late, but it's still just at the end of sector 1 that this has happened. So I think it's still within our rule sets. But this is racing at the end of the day.
It is certainly a part of it. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe. I would let Van complete that quote because he loves that quote.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe bad. Right. Let's see. We have all the drivers. We indeed have all the drivers out here today. A minute and a half left to race. So it's a very shame that that's happened. We did have some fantastic, actually fantastic racing that has transpired. And with this race weekend feature, we actually will be able to actually dish out some punishment for red flag violations with grid penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we'll finally justify forcing everyone to rejoin the server 3 times per weekend.
Very much so. So this very much written will be into the code that race grid penalties is now allowed, seeing as well if you get a if you do something back on a red flag, your only punishment was some points on your license, which yeah, it does lead to a race ban, but has no tangible consequences for the next event, or in fact the event that you have just partaken in.
As we hear, people are revving their engines a little bit, getting ready and impatient for the second attempt at the second race for today. And the lights will be coming on now.
Indeed. So sorry for the camera angles. The camera angles are mostly for us. Oh well, this doesn't matter because we won't have any more restarts. So let us see. Race start once again. So all the lights are on and all the lights are out. Let's see if everything is still all in fine order and nothing is out of the ordinary. So Andrea still gets an excellent start. Further jostling down behind. That's Anno making the similar moves as he did last time. More drivers that better. There's a little bit of content. That's Albert Szymański with a little bit of a.
Careful there, everyone. There is so much going on in
There's
here.
way more.
People spinning around, but luckily no pileups this time. So maybe we'll get through the first lap here.
Chris Boxall gets a much better getaway this time around, managing to secure a 3rd place. Wangerman still in 4th place. Johan Karolczak not getting the start like he did last time. He's still in 14th place. Now this is the moment where everything went wrong for all of our drivers.
I think that's a little bit later in lap. I think it's the next braking zone.
Yeah, it could have been the next braking zone. So let's see what's happening. Victor Bernard making some good moves. He's up to P8. His teammates still suffering in P14 land. So the driver's making it through. Quite nice contact behind. That's Wyszemniak, I believe.
More bowling. There's more bowling on the second restart, and unfortunately for everyone involved, we're not going to restart it for a second time.
Unfortunately, it was only 2 drivers that have been involved in that contact. Well, 3 drivers. It was Wyszemniak, Vakuinov, and Szilagi. The winners of the last race now sitting P13, P14. Johan Karolczak will be a little bit happy about that. He's up into P11. Probably not as happy as he would have been with that P5 before the race restart.
Another person who will be very unhappy is Lukas Centorbi. I think he started in I think P5 or something.
Look at Centorbi.
Yeah, it would be P5 because he started just behind Chris Boxall, who is now into P3, and that is such an unfortunate start for Lukas Centorbi and everyone behind, because after such a good race one, it's disappointing to find themselves at the back of the field, but there's still 18 minutes to go and anything can still happen as Chris Boxall makes an overtake for P2.
Indeed, and we see Ike Marva very much pressuring Martin Evans. A little bit of a snap oversteer on the exit. Still manages to keep ahead of Ike Marva, just barely, I think. But this is something that Ike Marva is very much in the slipstream and very much closing in to go side by side before we even get to the hairpin. So on the brakes, the battle will be who is late on the brakes. And it's Ikemava who takes an early lead for the mid corner, goes out wide, and Martin Oliveira manages to get the traction down and retake that spot from Ike, but not so quickly. Ike manages to nail that inside line and get ahead at the exit. More battling up ahead. Juan Gramash goes extremely wide and loses 2 places. One to Anno and one to Chris Boxo. Chris Boxo in 2nd place. I think Juan was trying to get that spot back. Ika and Martin are still battling side by side. They go. Martin's still fighting. Can he have the traction for the following corner? No, he can't. Ika should be able to keep the position, and it's Venlin.
That leaves him vulnerable to Venelin Uzunov, who is having a nosebleed up there in P6, or just about in P6, has to back out of it a little bit, as he now gets attacked by Victor Bernat behind, and loses a position as a result. But for a moment, he was looking to gain another position, and now, as we see now, Chris Boxall having a look around the outside for P1 or Andrew Bayer.
He will be getting close. Martin Oliveira is closer. Ooh, but look at Chris Boxer going very wide, trying to cut back Ander, but Andrew Bayer just blocks him with a good positioning on the car. Wonder if he'll be able to drive around. Jay Brandage is falling down the field a little bit. Bobby Vakuinov recovering to 11th place. Johan Karolczyk is still in the top 10, so he's still within some good point-paying position, and I reckon he might get up a little bit further, or attempt to, as Chris Boxer tries to... Oh, he was looking for an inside move on Andrew Bayer, who is still retaining that lead.
And doing very well to keep Chris behind. We saw Chris having some
issues. Oh, it's contact! Victor Bernat! Nothing, I wouldn't be surprised.
He's stopped in the middle of the corner. That's such a bad place to be stopped, because he has to wait for everyone to pass before he can rejoin, and well done to him.
Is Anno taking the place from Chris Boxall? Anno has went up the inside of Chris Boxall and taken a spot away from him.
Oh, I was trying to talk about this earlier. Chris had some issues in the first race, as we see Juan Gramash and Martin Oliveira battle it out. It seems that for now it's Juan Gramash who comes out ahead, but for the 3rd time back to Chris Boxall, he has some issues in race 1 trying to overtake Lukasin Torbi. He made quicker work of his teammate Anno, but he couldn't get by Andrew Bayer, and that left him vulnerable to everyone behind. And Anno took the opportunity and got past him back into P2, and now Anno is staring at the race lead.
Indeed, as Anno is staring at the race lead, but I think Andrew Bayer could be taking a spot as Martin Oliveira and Juan Gramash getting together a little bit more. Ooh, very late on the brakes from Juan. That could be very naughty and might strike the eye out of the shooters a little bit. At least might be warning worthy.
But it's clean. It's fairly clean racing, but very hard racing, and it feels like that battle is going to continue on for a while this race, as we see Iker Maraver no, that's Juan Gramash defending the inside hard on Martin Oliveira coming to this side, but leaves the open for him. While Iker Maraver, Juan's teammate, is going for a move on Anno, who made a mistake earlier in the lap, which allowed Chris Boxall to overtake him. And now Chris is looking at the race lead from Andrew Bayer going around the outside, just as Iker is going around the outside on Anno. But Anno gets the defense done, but leaves a little bit of space on the inside on the exit, which Iker will definitely take, and he's going around the outside of the next turn, barely being left space, but being given just enough, and he makes use of every inch of that space and even more.
Anno is still
there. Not giving him any space on coming into the next turn.
Is there very much on this contact? I think.
And Iker misses his breaking point and hits Anno completely off, and that's going to be very disappointing for Anno, who was having such a good race up until then.
Indeed,
Anno was... It all comes to the end because of Iker Maraver missing his breaking point and hitting the two drivers ahead of him.
Indeed, I reckon it might not even been Iker. I think it may have been even Juan who had the unfortunate get together. He missed his breaking point and just yeeted Anno. That's what we call very much rear gunner.
Absolutely, definitely helped out his teammate, but it will not be looked upon fondly in the steering room. That's for sure.
Very much so. The two stewards who are racing will be removed from the decision altogether, but I reckon from those initial spots might be very much slam dunk, as Martin Oliveira and Juan Gramaj have a little bit of a get together, even more rubbing between the two drivers.
It seems to be a great Iberian battle for P3 with Iker Juan and Martin Oliveira, all coming from the same part of the continent. And sharing the same part of the track, and as Lucas Centorbi is sharing the same part of the track as Shilagi, going around the outside, trying to get the move done in the tricky braking zone where everyone's got it wrong so far this evening, it seems. But nothing happening there as Chris Boxall is going for the move.
Oh, there's more contact. It's Chris
right
Boxall. I think Chris Boxall got a little bit too squirrely on the exit, and as a result, lost the control.
There was some slight contact between the two drivers for going for P1. Both of them had to.
Johan Karolczak is off as well.
Both of them had to lift off a little bit, and that meant that the drivers behind couldn't react to it and just gave a little bit of a nudge to the leaders, and it caused an uncomfortable situation, which unfortunately he's.
And Johan Karolczak is off again. Contact. What
What is
miserable
happening in this race?
Indeed, it
And
has
there's
been
more contact.
more just miserable. It has been just miserable for Johan Karolczak this entire race. First, he joins in late, and next he just has.
And Chris Boxall as well. He didn't have the race one he really would have expected after qualifying, and in race 2 it was looking so good for him. He was going for the lead, and after going for the lead, he finds himself in P11.
Indeed, so there seems to be a little accusations of oh, Vendelin is off. That's Vendelin off, and in fact there has been a little bit of accusations of intentional wrecking, and something that stewards will look a little bit later during the race. But Albert Bayer, still 10 minutes into halfway into the race, is still managing to retain that lead, but he's now under very big pressure from Iker Marave. Switches to pressure from Martin Oliveira as Martin tries to exploit the fact that Iker had to sit back behind Andrew Bayer and takes a spot.
He defends perfectly from both of them. That is.
Sorry, a little bit of a communication issue. That is some very good racecraft from Andrew Bayer.
It's into the race.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. We had a little bit of a communication from an issue, and Andrew Bayer is spun around. That is contact with Martin Oliveira.
By Martin Oliveira. Luckily not losing too much, but there's 3 wide on the exit of the final corner, and that's, I think, not sure who that was.
That's Bobby Vakuinov going extremely well. Andrew Bayer has dropped so many places down back, so there was contact from Martin Oliveira that has initially spun Andrew Bayer, and then the initial contact corrected him a little bit, but that has meant that Iker Marave is now leading the race. Martin Oliveira is still in second place, but I'm sure there will be a lot of stewards' inquiries after this race is over.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Juan goes wide. Juan goes extremely wide, and that allows Andrew Bayer through.
Still off track, rejoining, just slotting into the gap. Fairly safe rejoin, all things considered. But now he's going to be under pressure for Bobby Vakuinov. No, he's putting pressure on Andrew Bayer, who was having such a good race, defending from people who are so experienced, and truthfully, he did not lose that position through any fault of his own. It feels like all of the overtakes that we've seen for the lead of the race, unfortunately, were affected by incidents, or caused by incidents, I should say. As we see,
more incidents.
A clean overtake by Juan Gramaj and going cleanly around the outside, clearing Andrew Bayer, and that is the first position he's lost genuinely in this race, and that's no mean feat for Andrew Bayer. So well done.
Oh, contact! There was a little contact. I believe Andrew Bayer got a little bit wide, spins Bobby Vakuinov around. That's not going.
It's still not ending. That felt like a never-ending crash there. I wonder what happened there.
Indeed.
We'll have to look at it after the race as Bobby Vakuinov rejoined a little bit, almost into the path of Chris Boxall, but nothing happening there. I need to catch my breath.
Indeed, there's so much happening in this second race. This is going to be a race full of drama, and I reckon there will be a lot of angry shouting in the on the comms later today as Chris Boxall takes 8th from Anno. Once again, there's a repeat. There's a Groundhog Day for Anno. Chris Boxall retakes him, but unfortunately this time it's for 8th places rather than podium places. These two were fighting before, and Andrew Bayer losing even more places. That's what we saw. I completely forgot what has happened between him and Bobby Vakuinov, as Mark Shilagi has recovered quite nicely from that lap 1 incident into top 5, and is gonna take 4th position from Albert Szymański.
going around down the inside, clearing Szymanski just before the apex and getting that move done cleanly, and now looking ahead to Juan Gromach. That might just be out of reach because the top three are all very fast drivers, but so is Shilagi if we're going by practice. But 3 seconds is a big gap, all things considered, in this league.
Indeed, and very much so. Mark Schläger was the second fastest driver on the practice server behind Chris Boxer, who is 8th. So if anyone could close up the gap, I reckon it's Mark. I do know that Ike has mentioned it quite a few times previously that he struggles with consistency during the races. He's a great qualifier, but during races towards the end especially, he says that he loses focus and just mistakes slip in race bit by bit. So
someone who is not losing any focus right now is Venelin Uzunov. He's going out down the inside in the turn one on Szymanski, looking to make that overtake down. He stays to the inside, keeps it clean, gives him plenty of room on the outside. And now he's going to be on the outside and coming to the next left-hander. They're still side by side, very clean, very close, very brave from Venelin Uzunov, and he gets it done. And now Szymanski is going to be under pressure from Luca Gentorbi, coming in to take advantage of the situation ahead of him, and he's now down the inside, and surely this will be moved on for Luca Gentorbi because the inside here is very
contact! Contact between Venelin and Albert Szymanski. Albert Szymanski has been involved in quite a few incidents now, and that's not going to put a smile on the face of Venelin.
And that's such a shame because Ben pulled off such a nice overtake just before that, but then he went wide and due to the circumstances behind him of two cars being side by side, he just got collected in the entire kerfuffle.
A little bit of a calmer statement from a chatter. We will definitely see what has happened later, but now it seems like the grid is finally settling down into into a calm period after such a first 3 quarters of excitement. Martin Oliveira says the fastest lap of the race thus far, certainly looking to try and take that lead away from Ike Marve, who in fact he's doing quite a good job about it. He's only 1 second away from Ike after being 1.8 seconds behind. 4/10 fast on that last lap.
And with that fastest lap, he's going to be sending a signal to everyone around him, and in particular to Iker ahead. He's just setting that fastest lap and telling Iker, "Look, I'm faster than you. I'm gonna be there soon. Just you wait, honey." And I wonder how much faster he was that lap, if you know, Matt.
4/10. It was 4.5 tenths on the last lap.
Yeah, and the gap is still steadily coming down, though very slowly. But we might just see Martin catch up to Iker before the end of the race, so stay tuned for that. But as we look backwards at Bobby Vakunov looking for a move on the Ano, but nothing doing there into turn 5, I believe it is.
I believe that would be about turn 5. We're halfway through sector 2. Vano goes wide. Bobby Vakunov tries to stay in nice and tidy, trying to slot back, looking for a move down the inside. Will he think about it? No, this is quite a heavy braking zone. We're dropping the gears all the way down to fair, but Ano goes out wide.
Has a big bounce on the curb.
So that allows Bobby Vakunov that slide down the inside, taking 8th from Ano in a relatively peaceful manner from what we've seen this race. But Ano is not done yet. He's still 2 tenths back. He will be looking to try and make a move. No, can do. Bobby Vakunov he brakes as late as he can and keeps within the track limits.
Yeah, if this race is anything to go by, drivers have to be very careful there not to crash into the car ahead when braking into that final set of corners. As we see Chris Boxall now on the back of Luca Gentorbi. And do you have a sense of deja vu here, Matt?
I do certainly have a sense of deja vu from the very first race. Chris Boxall, to be honest, after he has recovered quite well after that first race, but he is just a 10th. He's side by side. He is taking a lead halfway down the straight, so I think this might be quite a much easier move down the inside. Further down the back, we have Bobby Vakunov side by side with Albert Szymanski. Let's see how Chris Boxall does it. Chris Boxall takes the place, and what about Albert Szymanski? Bobby, there's contact behind Oh god, it seems like Albert Szymanski just can't get any semblance of peace. Every single time there's a driver around, it seems that a incident has been created.
Speaking of incidents, Luca Cintorbi seems to have made a very small error and he's now dropped a few tenths behind Chris Boxall. So that battle is over, but a battle that is not over is Daniil Uzanov going for a round the outside move on Andrew Bayer, who's unfortunately is in the same livery, but they are not teammates, by the way. Andrew just couldn't have his livery for one reason or another, and then makes a move on him, which it's gonna be very disappointing for him to be finding himself in P11 after such a good drive up until then, pulling
In-
off a great move.
Indeed, Vendelin is certainly a driver that should have been fighting for that top 5 spot, has been involved in an incident or two, and it seems like there might be quite a long night for you and me in the steward's room. Sven goes extremely wide
Yeah.
for a move on the Jay Brandish. Jay Brandish goes very conservative on the brakes and quite an easy move for Vendelin. Vendelin just tried to make it look as spectacular as he could.
And I think he'll certainly be satisfied with that move, but he goes wide again. But maybe that's just his racing line going for a good exit there. And certainly it's worked out for him as he's now broken the slipstream to G Brandish. And G Brandish is now vulnerable to Andrew Bayer behind, who's gonna be looking for an inside move as G Brandish goes to the inside. No, Andrew Bayer's going around the outside and uh, looking to brake late,
Oh,
take more
contact!
speed to the corner, but he takes speed into G Brandish's rear bumper, and that's gonna be even more to look at for us, and I'm not looking forward to it,
To be honest,
including track limits.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was no reporter saying as Andrew Bayer and Jay Brandish are both teammates. Both racing
Yeah.
for SFWRT, so it would definitely be interesting to see. But the one driver I definitely feel for Andrew Bayer, who is definitely a driver who could have been looking at making a very much a top 5 finish, a deservedly top 5 finish, I think, Andrew Bayer, and I'd be very interesting. Definitely, I think he had a possibility of a podium here, with everything that has happened to the top, the faster drivers around. I mean, we see Bobby Vakuinov in 7th, Max Shilagi in 4th place, all both drivers who should have been battling for that race win. Down in the bottom, Johan Karolczak, Victor Bernardes, two extremely quick drivers out as well. Ike Marve, Martin Oliveira, and Juan Gramache, and Abaya was doing extremely well throughout the entire race, doing more than what we would expect of him, to keep all of them behind for more than half the race, into unfortunate contact
Yeah.
between him and Martin Oliveira.
It feels like this is just a race full of what ifs for several drivers up and down the field. But a driver who will not be thinking about any of that right now is Iker Marver, going into the final sector of this, or soon approaching the final sector of this racetrack. He's got just half a lap to go until he can call himself a race winner in race 2 here in round 2 of the RS1 challenge. And Matt, I think you can take this away now.
Okay, so as Ike Marve goes through the penultimate corner, going into the final complex of the section, it's just this very tricky right-hander turning while you're braking. Very easy to unsettle the car. Going around the final left-hander, you could draw similarities to Magny-Cours here, and Ike Marve crosses the line to finish first with Martin Oliveira in P2. Juan Gramache secures 3rd place for Plus Ultra Team Automobilismo. Max Shilagi will be satisfied with the recovery drive to 4th place. Chris Boxer will be in 5th. Luca Santorbi in 6th place. Bobby Vakuinov will be very annoyed with that 7th place finish. Albert Szymanski in 8th place. Anno comes 9th place, and Anno is another driver who's definitely was driving extremely well until his incident with Venelin in 10th place, driver who had top 5 pace. Andrew Bayer 11th. Oh, what could have been for Andrew Bayer, with Jay Brandish coming across in P12. And I reckon that we will have a little bit of interesting talks in our team comms.
I'm sure we'll have interesting talks with Ben here. Ben, how do you feel about that race? It did not really work out for you in the end in terms of the result, but you pulled off some amazing overtakes, which we saw on the stream. And I wonder if you're satisfied with those overtakes at the very least.
My response is look at my current POV. That's my exact response
We
to
are
how my
watching.
race went.
As we, I think one of your tires is gonna pop soon.
They've already popped, but
Oh,
I mean
okay.
that's gonna cost a pit crew some 10 grand for the new tires, but I think that's okay. We can afford that. But yeah, the race. I mean, it felt like James May in the Rallycross episode. Like it started off really good. It started off really good, and then it just fell apart. Like, of course, with my competence and others' incompetence, which I'm not gonna comment on, but I think it was mostly my competence that led to this downfall. But yeah, we had a great start, dodged all the carnage in front, but just the result didn't come out yet, like you said. But I did pull off that amazing overtake for P5, I think it was, which was very much ego boosting move. But yeah, I think that's all needs to be said.
Did you enjoy the battles?
Indeed, the
Yeah.
battles have been. There's been quite good battles, and there's been quite a lot of very touring car racing this round. We saw a lot of door banging, paint trading, trade paint. Paint trading. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm trying to type
We
and
got there
speak
in
at the
the
same
end.
time.
The bad thing is I hit no.
It would certainly be. It would certainly be a long, 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 long day for us in the stewards room, I reckon.
Also, I have to say, in the red flag race, if I didn't leave the brakes, the guy would have hit me. So, and he even hit me. So, take that into account.
Indeed,
Uh,
indeed, it seems to be the race of extreme highs, extreme lows, and nothing in between.
And I would just like to remind everybody that I would like to re-announce my retirement from racing after this race.
Ben, you were great. You.
I wasn't. I really wasn't. I really wasn't. I have to be honest. I wasn't. I wasn't.
It's alright. So
Anyways,
before we get to
sorry to interrupt you, Sarah, but I
Okay.
just want to let everybody know that I'm going to be off. So I just want to wish everybody in the stream have fun, enjoy yourselves, and thanks for watching us spending your afternoon watching pretend cars. I want to appreciate that very much. See ya.
See,
Thank you very much,
I
Ben.
will leave as well and let you with the interviews.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. So let's see if we can grab drivers, especially if we can grab a few drivers who winners and podium sitters get priority.
We sure can. So first we'll grab Iker Maraver.
Oh, okay. Hello.
Hello, I'm not sure whether Ika wanted to be interviewed, but Ika, you are here, race winner of race 2, back on form after round 1 left you sitting quite low in the points. You managed to rebound with some good point scoring point scores positions this round. In a very much already we can say the more controversial round of the season.
Yeah, more or less. I I know that from inside. Um, well, taking profit of the chaos in the summary of the race. People with a lot of pace that has been taken out. I don't know if I did something wrong. I have to review my race. So because after trying to make the fastest laps, I cannot remember anything. But yeah, from what I remember, a hell race from Ano, a good battle with Martin. I remember doing like half of the lap with Martin in side by side, so I had like ups and downs from the race. I think more than ups than downs. But yeah,
Do you remember what happened there when Andrew Byer got dropped down the field in that incident halfway through the race, which allowed you to go and have that battle for the lead for the rest of the race?
yeah. I remember watching the like from my side. I saw Martin going into the back of Andrew. I don't know if it was a racing incident. It's too hard to know. Apart from that, I don't. I only watched. I only saw. Sorry, the front part of the car of Martin. So I don't. I cannot now like have. I don't know like a, someone to blame. It's the word that I was looking for. But yeah, that incident gave me a good opportunity. We were in a call with I was in a call with Juan, and we screamed, "Okay, go away! Now is the time to do the fastest laps." After that crash, sorry.
Indeed. So this I said this before this race even this round even started. I called it that this round will definitely throw the championship uh, on its head, and it will definitely have some very surprising results.
I was not expecting that result. I was expecting a P5, more or less of what happened in race one. Race one for me has had perfect pace, and not what I thought about Anadara at the moment. And just taking profit of the chaos and having a even better pace, I think, from race one. Uh, One race to remember, that's for sure.
All right. So definitely be interesting. And since you've driven this car, no one has already switched his car to loving this car to hating this car. How are you with this, and what are you looking forward to in Autopolis?
I think I'm more or less like in the middle of what I did in another in this. I don't know if I can keep this pace. Something interesting is that in another I took like 400 laps and this I took only 80. So I don't know what to do for next lap, for next round. That thing about Juan hating this car, I think now he is loving it again. He had also a good race in this round, both of them, both of the races. So I don't think he's hating it right now. He's loving it.
So it's very result dependent, the love.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, we do it as well. I mean, at the end of the day, we enjoy more the handle of the car if we're in P1. But yeah, at least and I think that the race itself was good, at least from my for us point of view. So doesn't matter really the results. At least in our surroundings. I don't know about the others. I think it had a lot more of chaos behind us.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much, Ika, for joining us today. Well done on your race victory. That the results will be very, very different uh,
Yeah.
once we actually apply everything. But any final words from yourself?
Yeah, good race for everyone, and especially Andrew Bayer, Martin, Juan, Victor as well, Chris. Chris, I think, had a very bad luck in this race, in this round, sorry. And I don't know if I can keep the pace for the whole championship. Uh, Good race for everyone.
Indeed. So thank you again, Ika, and we will see you back in Brazil. In the meantime, who do we have next? Let's see. We don't
I think we
see.
can drag Andrew Bayer.
We could drag Andrew by. Let's see who was actually first to say yes.
It's
Oh
too late
god.
now.
Too late now.
Hello,
So
Andrew.
Oh god. That felt like divine intervention. I was
divine.
feeling flat.
Yeah,
You were doing.
apologies for dragging you in like that. Up in race two, up until halfway through the race, that was one of the best. I would say one of the best performances we've seen from you so far in this league. It was great
Yeah.
seeing you up there defending for your life, and such a shame for you to be taken out of that prematurely by through really no fault of your own. But just
Yeah.
first of all, how are you feeling right now?
Uh I don't know, I was expecting to be more angry, but I feel surprisingly neutral about it. I mean, what am I supposed to do? It just kinda happened. It very much felt like divine intervention. Like I was flying too close to the sun. No, buddy, not this time. Um I mean it's unfortunate, but in the end, I'm at least glad to know that if everything comes together as it should, the potential is there. It's just sad that didn't have quite happen this time around.
Indeed,
But
and
next round,
it did, and it was a result that we were looking for. Was we were going to 10 minutes of the race in no offense to you. I thought that you would have been swamped by the drivers behind you, given that the pace they exude. But it seemed like you have the racecraft to fend the drivers off, particularly around this track, for more than 10 minutes of the race. And I reckon there was definitely a podium in cars for you.
Yeah, yeah. If not a pole, then definitely would have probably been a podium. Oh well, this is probably what it feels like to be a Ferrari fan. But yeah,
Sure is.
So speaking about that, so with the pace that you know you are capable of, are you looking forward to having another go in Autopolis, a track which is relatively similar in the way that it races to this track?
absolutely. I mean, until a while ago, I'd only heard about Topless, but I recently actually tried it out in a few different cars, and I gotta say, I really like it. And I think the circuit is definitely very well suited to this car. Um, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Absolutely. Telling you, next time, next time around, I'm hopefully gonna be able to do it. If not, I'll still try anyways. Oh yeah.
Indeed.
Ah,
So actually, let's bring your teammate in here, Rainis Vazhemniks, who has managed to score points, managed to finish in P13, managed to score some points, and said that if he can score some points in the race, that will be a highlight of his of the championship. And I don't think you expected points, well, quite good point scoring positions in the second round.
Second round was a disaster. I don't know
uh,
who. I think it was. Let me check who it was.
Well, digressing, point scoring is still point scoring. You have managed
yeah.
to still to finish and to score points and to win. First, you have to finish, and that doesn't do well by DNFing. So, a good point scores for SFWRTs, and we saw some incidents between yourself and teammates around the tail end
Yep.
of the race, including yourself, Andrew Baya. You and Jay Brandish had a few
Yeah.
get together.
I do know that I had a few very silly slip ups that were essentially the mental equivalent of slipping on a banana peel and falling face first on the ground. I basically just missed my brake marks a few times somehow. Not sure how, but it just kind of happened. But that was mostly in the first race. The second race was a whole another can of worms, as we all know. Oh well, no use in crying about it now.
Indeed, but what has happened to you after the incidents with that took you out of the race lead? Because we saw you driving, still hovering around that mid packet, and suddenly another incident just came in and dropped you all the way to the back.
Yeah, that was just getting distracted. Like I think my younger brother was coming in to tell me that my dad was calling for me, and knowing that I had had some pretty well, more or less traumatic experiences with that, as in being forcibly called away in the middle of a race, it was kind of distracting. He luckily let me finish everything, but it was just kind of distracting, and I ended up, just doing that. I don't wanna I don't want to think about it too much. I don't think it ended up making too big of a difference. Or, yeah. Oh well.
Indeed, but so let me ask it to the two of you as Team SFWRT. How are you guys now that you had two rounds underneath and you guys saw the kind of pace that your team is capable of? What are you looking for in the team's championship, and what are you both looking forward to in Autopolis? As the final couple of
Um,
questions.
what I'm looking forward to, honestly, I'm not sure. I wasn't sure what to look forward to in this race either, and I most certainly wasn't looking forward to whatever any of this was. But knowing that, again, as I've said, knowing that it's possible if everything is right, I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully, maybe getting a podium, or at least maybe somewhere in the top 10. That's usually the goal that I try to aim for, somewhere in the top 10. And otherwise, we'll have to see. I'm not sure.
How about yourself, Vergemniaks?
I'm definitely looking forward to not getting lapped on Autopolis as I did today, but was it was demoralizing. I think I said that in chat somewhere. It was demoralizing to get lapped in race one, and after what happened in race two, yeah, I just DNF'd to like I need to calm down, analyze what I did wrong, and maybe try to be cleaner on Autopolis.
Definitely. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the following races, and I reckon that the pace that you guys have, well, if Andrew is anything to go by, I reckon that SFWRT might follow suit. From what Andrew started in this league and where he's doing now, battling for those podium and wins, even. It will be very interesting to see where the rest of the SFWRT will end up.
Definitely.
And a having driver like Andrew, I'm sure you will teach the rest of the SFWRT all the tips and tricks that you have learned. Right.
Well,
So
it's a points finish in the end, anyways. I'm glad for that.
Indeed. So thank you to both of you, and I will move you back to Brazil. Any final words you would like to say?
Try better next time, and stay frosty.
Indeed.
See you around.
So you take care of yourselves, and let's bring back the final interviewees here today. I know one is streaming, but
we can bring on both of them if you want.
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
There.
The windmill race, the what team
Wazoo Windmill Race.
Wazoo Windmill
Cyanide
Race.
was a windmill racing.
Yeah, the cyanide, the cyanide Red Bull Visa Cash App. Wazoo Racing.
Whoa! We do not like our name in slander. We are Wazoo Windmill Racing. Come on, it's WWS.
Powered by Cyanide.
Pardon, I messed up on that. Anyway, yeah.
So you guys had quite the race and a huge potential in this race. And Anno had the best race start that I've seen in a race 2, managing to hold off and even fight back against drivers like Chris Boxo on few occasions, retaking that position for that second and that podium places. And Luca fighting off Chris Boxo for the entire of the race, putting up some phenomenal defending driving.
Well, in race 1 with Chris Boxer, I was even if I seen on the stream, you said that we're sister team. We are sister teams with Senate, but in this race, position was very important. So I put a defense on Chris Boxer. To be honest, I was quite surprised that I did manage to keep him behind for the entirety of race 1. In race 2, it was kind of shown that with one mistake that it all goes away, because his pace is just way better than mine. But like, I'm super surprised that I managed to keep him behind for the whole entirety of race 1.
And Anno, I was going to say, Anno, you had a phenomenal start to race 2, but unfortunately, a little tap from Plus Ultra Team Automobilismo just sent you into the shadow realm.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, and it's interesting that it's the same thing that happened to us in the restart. Like, obviously, there's nothing actually behind it, but it's a fun coincidence. And yeah, it's a shame about that, but I really enjoyed the race I had before that. After that, it seems that as happens to me fairly frequently, I have just kind of lost my focus after a major incident, and I just couldn't quite fight on the same level for the rest of the race.
Indeed, but it seems that this should be quite a morale boost. I know the results might not reflect it too much, but given that the pace that you were displaying should hopefully reinvigorate for the following rounds. Like, yes, we can actually fight for the podiums and potentially a race win against all of these aliens which are around us.
Oh yes, of course, and this is in so many ways it's a good sign because, well, to be honest, I did not feel very confident around this track. In general, this track does not particularly agree with me. So to be able to fight like that, even on a track I'm not the best at, it's quite a good sign.
I did put some hours into this track, and I felt quite comfortable. This from last race in Anadada to this one, I felt way more comfortable. And race 2, I could have expected some good position, maybe podium or even maybe the win, depending if the turn 2 incident didn't happen. But in the end of the day, it is what racing is. And even after that spin, I tried my best to work my way up. And at one point, I was P5, so I am still pretty happy with my race 2 finish and race 1.
Indeed. So, so moving forward, Autopolis. To be honest, for me, Autopolis seems like it's going to be quite a similar track to Hermanos, albeit a bit more elevation, maybe a bit narrower, but might offer a little bit more overtaking and certainly a different style of driving. And it'll be interesting to see what you guys, if you guys are looking forward to it, and what are your predictions for it.
Oh, sorry, I got something in the
Uh,
background.
and I've never driven Autopolis in a Assetto Corsa ever. With Rio, with today's race as well, I also, this was my first time in these cars on this track. I had one last experience on this track, but to be honest, I feel like with less experience on the track, I could have more potential. Of course, I do have also help from friends who will to work with the setup with me. So to be honest, I am quite excited again for the next race. And prediction, I mean, very difficult because it is always a different scenario. So you can't predict the unpredictable.
Of course not.
No, of course not. But how are you guys feeling regarding the car now? I know some drivers have been complaining about the car. I know we even had Juan complain about the car, saying this car is terrible to drive. And after having a good race, this car is back to saying this car is amazing. So is it similar to you guys? How the car drives is very result dependent.
Anna?
I am enjoying this car quite a lot. It's a car that it really lets you race close, and that's, I think, I mean, just by doing that, it already becomes a very good car. But with the right setup, it is also quite pleasant to just drive, to just do laps in. It's not a car that I have to force myself to practice for.
Well, I have to say, I love this car. In all senses, I love this car. It's just super, super fun to drive. And with the freedom of the setups, you can set this car up in any way possible. It's always, you can have it understeer, obviously. Just depending on how you want, you can set this car up. And with every track, it's really, really fun. And I just really love this car.
So very happy to hear that. So with Wazoo Windmill Racing, thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you so much for participating. Well done on your results. Well done on your pace. And actually, good. Thank you for putting out an amazing show today and a great pace out there. Looking forward to what you guys make in Autopolis.
Thank you. And thanks for the epic commentary.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you very much.
any final words from yourselves?
Fernando 33rd. I'm sorry. Autopolis, one to look forward to.
Yeah, I do have some experience with that track, although it is only in a single race in the Praga season. I'm expecting it to be a difficult track, but in an interesting way. So, yeah.
Indeed. So thank you. I will now put you back to Brazil, and we shall finish up our wrap up. What an amazing race this has been, and especially race 2, it has been extremely controversial, which will definitely result in us having a lot of stewards' decisions. So the final results will be way different. Speaking of race results, let's look back ahead. Let's just talk about the top 5 finishes, both races. So we had Sidewinders Motorsport with a 1-2 finish in race 1 after a very clean race 1. There should be very little to change in there. Martin Oliveira taking 3rd, and Juan and Ike 4th and 5th. Then in race 2, the race that will certainly change, full of controversy, Ika takes the 1st place, followed by Martin Oliveira, Juan Gramash in 3rd, and Mark Shilaki recovering to 4th place, with Chris Boxer recovering to 5th place, ahead of his rival Luca Centauri. So just the reverse positions of these two from race 1. Sarah, anything that you have to add from this amazing race weekend?
I'm just really impressed that we pretty much had the whole experience today. We had the race 1 and race 2 were complete contrast of each other. In race 1, it was quite a calm race, not too much overtaking, and people just settling in, barely any drama or anything. It was only really the first laps which where all the action was. And then fast forward to race 2, we had uh, our trademark restart, and then we had chaos. Let's put it that way. And it's gonna be a long evening for us, but I hope, at least for anyone watching, that it was a very enjoyable evening of watching it all unfold. Because it's not gonna be as fun for us afterwards, but for the moment, I'm quite satisfied with how everything went.
Very much so, and then hopefully for the following races we will have a dedicated race director so we can focus on commentary without having to defuse drivers, look at incidents, and making sure that everything runs according to our regulations. Regardless, thank you everyone to watch that has tuned in for the broadcast. Thank you to all the drivers that have partaken. You have put on a fantastic show, regarding of which side of the roller coaster or which elevation of the roller coaster you ended up in. And thank you to the rest of the admin staff team that has managed to help run this server and these events. And moving forward, I certainly hope to see you round 3 at Autopolis, Japan, where we start a very interesting calendar where we have Autopolis followed by a circuit that Jackyo, followed by, let's look back at the calendar, we have Zoda, which I myself, I'm actually quite looking forward to Zoda. I think that will be a fantastic race. Lago Maggiore should really bring forward the true Gran Turismo experience, especially with these cars. Red Bull Ring, a good old classic. Watkins Glen, which actually should prove a good race. Our only street circuit at Long Beach, which last season Ginetta threw in a very big surprise with our underdog Giovanni Marcucci almost winning the race. And then the season finale at the Yas Marina. So, until next time, take care of yourselves, and, as always, enjoy the music.